Let's move on to the Los Angeles Lakers now, and specifically Dennis Schroder. Dennis Schroder is going to be a free agent after this season, and he turned down a 4-year, $80 million extension from the Los Angeles Lakers, according to reports, which is just shocking. I'm not sure why you wouldn't want to secure the bag immediately, especially when your future is unknown both financially and with your destination. But that, according to reports, is what Dennis Schroder turned down. And according to those same reports, that's why Dennis Schroder was involved in some of those trade discussions for Kyle Lowry in a potential package that would have included Schroder, KCP, and possibly Talen Horton-Tucker. Now, Rob Pelinka and the Lakers did not decide to make that move and ship Schroder away, but he was put on the block because, hey, he turned down a monster contract extension that the Lakers thought was pretty good. So Schroeder going to be a free agent after this season, and who knows what happens with his future. This is what we know about the player currently. He hasn't been playing as well with the Lakers this year. Not the same guy that he was last year when he was really putting together a career season. As for teams that could maybe be interested in Dennis Schroeder's services after this season, according to Evan Massey, keep an eye on the Chicago Bulls. They have a point guard in Thomas Satoransky and Kobe White. They're kind of missing a playmaker at the point guard and two guard spot. And Evan Massey in this tweet says one team to keep an eye on for Dennis Schroeder in free agency will be the Chicago Bulls. Source tells at hoopanalysis.net. If they can't find a way to get Lonzo Ball, which I would have loved, Schroeder will likely be a backup option. And this is what Schroeder is doing so far this year with the Los Angeles Lakers. He's been solid but not as good last year and not really dependable or consistent. Little more than 15 points per game, 5 assists. He's shooting 43% from the floor, which for a point guard who can play the two isn't all that great. And he is well below league average from beyond the arc. As compared to last year, yeah, his numbers are down this year as compared to 2019-20, when he really put together a career year and looked like he was on his way to earning a monster contract. I mean, for the Oklahoma City Thunder, he was putting up almost 19 points per. I was really impressed with what Dennis Schroeder did last year, and just hasn't been the same. Now, that could be because he's getting the ball taken away from him by LeBron James and AD when he's on the floor with those guys, rather. But yeah, Dennis Schroeder is set to be a free agent after this year. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to him. Now, I mentioned Dennis Schroeder being in those potential trade talks with a team like the Toronto Raptors for Kyle Lowry. A reason why that deal didn't happen, well, according to some reports, it's because Rob Pelinka did not want to include Talen Horton-Tucker in that deal. This is a guy who was drafted out of Iowa State. He's looked at as a player who has some upside. LeBron James really loves him, but I don't think you don't trade for Kyle Lowry just because you want to hold on to Talen Horton-Tucker. And here's the thing to monitor for the Lakers, and if you're following the Lakers. Talen Horton-Tucker is going to be a restricted free agent after this season. So there's going to be a team in the NBA that offers him somewhere in the range of $10 million probably, right? And the Lakers aren't going to be in a position to match that salary. So I thought it was weird how the Lakers didn't elect to trade for a player like Kyle Lowry, all because they wanted to hold on to Talen Horton-Tucker. I don't think they would have lost much by trading away guys like Dennis Schroeder or KCP in that deal. What do you think about Schroeder's future in LA? If you're a Lakers fan, Laker Nation, speak up. Let me know. Holler at me. Should the Lakers re-sign Dennis Schroeder? If you think they should, type Y for yes. If you don't think they need to, you can type N for no. If you're living in the Los Angeles area, I want you to go to chatsports.com/LakersNB and download the Newsbreak app. And while you're there, also give Newsbreak a follow. If you're living in the city of Los Angeles, you can set your settings on the Newsbreak app so that you are updated as to all of the happenings that's going on in Los Angeles. We're talking news, pop culture, sports, and politics. But if you live in Malibu, if you live in Orange County or one of the surrounding areas, Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach, which is where my dad actually lived for a couple of years, you can enter your zip code, and that way anything that's happening in those specific areas, you will be updated as to what's going on in your neighborhoods. Also, while you're on the Newsbreak app, give the Lakers Report a follow. We're at 61 followers on that channel right now on that account, and we're trying to get to 100. So hit that follow button on the Newsbreak app, but also give us a follow on the Lakers Report on the app as well. That's chatsports.com/Lakers. Andre Drummond made his highly anticipated debut earlier this week for the Lakers, and against the Milwaukee Bucks, it was cut short because he lost his big right toenail because he was stepped on by Brook Lopez. Doesn't sound pleasant at all. Luckily for the Lakers, he's not expected to miss a lot of time. The Lakers are optimistic that Drummond won't miss more than, let's say, a game or two. He did injure his toe, left the game in the third quarter. At halftime, he said he went to the locker room, took his sock off, he looked down, there was no toenail. So, yeah, I'm not trying to gross you out, that's what happened. But the good news is Drummond is going to come back, and without LeBron James and Anthony Davis, that is much welcome news for Frank Vogel and that Lakers brass because they're just trying to keep their heads above water and survive without the services of Andre Drummond because this was a huge pickup for them on the buyout market. They got him in the bargain basement, less than $800,000 from here on out until the end of the regular season, and they brought him in because they think he can be a huge contributor. As for what Andre Drummond did in that debut against the Milwaukee Bucks, very active. The offense ran through him at times. He only played 14 minutes because of that injury. 4 points, 1 rebound, 2 of 6 from the floor, and again, this is a player who is a traditional big man. He's not going to knock down threes. He's not going to spread the floor. He is going to rebound the basketball at an elite clip, and he's a very energetic presence as well. So Drummond going to be back in the Lakers lineup within the next couple of days, and he let everybody know, hey, I'm okay. I'm doing all right. He tweeted this after that game against the Bucks a couple nights ago. Well, I lost a toenail. Couple of emojis, but still felt incredible wearing the purple and gold. I'll be back soon. So you look at the potential lineup that the Lakers could trot out there with a healthy Andre Drummond, it's pretty legit. I think it's one of the best lineups across the NBA. Dennis Schroder at the 1, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope at the 2, LeBron James playing the 3, with Anthony Davis at his natural position at the 4, and Andre Drummond at the 5. Here's what I'm noticing when I look at that lineup. It is a lot of scoring production across the board. Schroeder north of 15 points. KCP can knock down some clutch shots. LeBron James at 36, defying modern-day science, averaging more than 25. Andre Drummond with the Cavaliers was putting together a really good year, 17.5, 13-plus rebounds. And then Anthony Davis, more than 22 points per game. The main focus for the Lakers, you just have to get healthy. And speaking of health for LA, they don't have LeBron for the foreseeable future. Who knows when AD is going to come back. But what is your confidence level in this team without LeBron James and Anthony Davis? Get into the comments and scale it for me from 1 to 10. A lot of teams are expected to be busy on the NBA buyout market, and could Avery Bradley be a free agent if he is bought out by the Houston Rockets? According to Dave McMenamin of ESPN, the Lakers have interest in bringing Avery Bradley back, who was on the team last year, opted out of the COVID bubble. And this is a guy who can knock down threes and defend. He was traded to Houston in that Victor Oladipo deal, is currently in the cellar that is the Houston Rockets right now. And according to some reports, not only are the Lakers interested in Avery Bradley, but if he is indeed bought out, a team like the Boston Celtics could inquire about his services as well on the free agent market. This is what I like about Avery Bradley's game. He's 30 years old right now. It seems as though he's been in the league forever. He's on that Perry Ellis flow. But for a playoff team, Avery Bradley can hit threes. He can defend. And when I mention him being able to close out games, I'm not talking about Avery Bradley being a guy who can facilitate the offense, run the offense, break you down off the dribble and hit shots and step backs or anything like that. But Avery Bradley, because of his ability to knock down threes and defend, can be a part of a starting 5 for a playoff team coming down the stretch here. You look at what he's done throughout his career, because the sample size this year is somewhat small because he hasn't played all that much. He's been a pretty productive player, and Avery Bradley is a guy who has a bunch of playoff experience. He's played almost 50 playoff games in his career, and for a playoff squad, that veteran experience is definitely valuable. But hey, hitting threes, knocking down some shots, most importantly, defending, Avery Bradley can bring a lot to a playoff team if he is bought out by the Houston Rockets. So which team is the best option for Avery Bradley? I threw out the Lakers. I threw out the Celtics. No, I'm not trying to get people arguing here in the comments right now because this is the best rivalry in the NBA, but these are the two reported teams that could be interested in Avery Bradley, and he played for both squads earlier on in his career. So type C if you think the Celtics is the best fit for Avery Bradley. Type L if you think it's the Lakers.